Well, hello everyone. I'd like to welcome you all back to this segment of From the Hip. Today is an amazing day. I feel good. My family is good. Everyone is good. But you know what? Quite honestly, it hasn't always been that way. My daughter, as some of you may know, is a migraine sufferer, a debilitating headache she has had. And I'm sure that many of you out there can relate to this. They're not fun, are they? My daughter went through everything, a sinus workup by her medical doctor and even a neurologist. They had her on heavy-duty medicines, but nothing really seemed to help. Nothing helped until we did one thing. We took her to a chiropractor. Yes, a chiropractor. My daughter had a subluxation in her neck that was causing her pain. After a few adjustments, she was good as new, and her headaches, I'm happy to report, disappeared. Today, I am excited. We have set out to find an expert in the world of chiropractic. We have Dr. Gena with us, one of South Florida's most sought-after chiropractors. We have a special show actually planned for you. We will be taking an in-depth look at some of the patients and conditions Dr. Gena has worked with, their outcomes, and how you might apply this to your life. So stay tuned. We will be back in a moment with Dr. Gena. Hello everyone, we are back and we are here with Dr. Gena. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm really happy to be back here.
I'm so excited. We had you on the show before and it was so amazing. And I got to tell you, the response was really awesome.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I was here right when you guys got into your new studio, yes. So it's been exciting to be a part of your progress and growth.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Now, for those people that are out there that don't know you, you're a chiropractor here in South Florida. How long have you been practicing?
So next month is 10 years.
10 years,
yeah.
That's great, that's great. And so as a chiropractor, you see all types of conditions. What are some of the most common ones that you see?
I would say the most common things that people come into the office with are things like, believe it or not, constipation.
Really?
Yeah.
You wouldn't think that as a chiropractor.
You would not think that.
Back, you think spine, but you don't think constipation.
Correct.
Okay.
I like to surprise people.
Right, exactly. And we're going to talk constipation in a little bit, so go ahead. What else?
Constipation is one. A lot of parents bring their kids in because of things like colic, reflux, ear infections, adults suffering from things like migraines. I mean, it's all things across the board.
It must be so rewarding for you. And one thing, watching you online and just knowing you, I mean, you're so vibrant with your patients. It's really cool. You work with children too.
Yes, I do work with kids, and we have a lot of fun. And as you know, kids tend to bring the energy. Yes. So we have a lot of excitement in the office.
You do, yes. And how about pregnant women? Do you work with pregnant women as well?
We do.
Yes.
So think about it. Pregnancy is a time where, most specifically, that's when someone's looking not to take medications or add things into their body.
True.
And so a lot of women during their pregnancy sometimes come to see us because they're seeking some relief. So their OBs, their midwives, their doulas may send them in. But a lot of times, most of the pregnant women that we see actually come in because of wellness care. They want to have the easiest pregnancy, labor, and delivery possible and prevent ever having to go into that crisis mode.
I think that's great. That's fantastic. You actually brought up a really cool point as far as medications go. Do you think that chiropractic work, sometimes people don't have to take the heavy-duty medicines if they come to you first?
So my viewpoint is the most conservative approach is the best way to start. So there's a time and a place for medications, there's a time and a place for surgeries, but what many people don't know is that there are often drug-free and surgery-free solutions for things that involve making lifestyle changes that can greatly benefit them to the point where they may not need to take a medication. So there's lots of information and things to do out there. It's just a matter of seeking it out to find what may be a good fit for that individual person and that individual case.
Right. And you and I were discussing before about lifestyle changes.
Yes.
Are they always easy?
They are not always easy, and most of the time they're actually difficult.
Right, exactly. What are some of the lifestyle changes that you recommend for your patients?
That's a great question. And we're really upfront with people. We tell them this is a 50-50 kind of thing. Like, we'll do our part, but you have to make some changes at home too.
Yes.
So the most common things that we speak to people about are things like proper nutrition, having adequate motion, getting quality rest, having a positive mental attitude, keeping a positive mindset,
right.
and most importantly, having a clear nerve flow, clear brain-body connection. That's the chiropractic piece, but those other things are what the patients and the people need to be doing outside of the office.
Oh, I see. So, you and I were talking over email about some of your success stories.
Yeah.
And, speaking of, when you forwarded those to me, some of the things that you treat are out of the ordinary, according to what, I've seen in chiropractic work, like the constipation.
Yeah.
So you forwarded us, and everybody out there, she forwarded us a few case studies that you're going to go over for us. What's the first one?
So I always like to share Maria's story, and I like to be clear on that. It's not a treatment for constipation, right? But Maria was a patient that came in to see me probably 8 years ago, and she was bent over in really bad back pain, and she said, "Doc, can you please help me?" And as you guys know, a lot of people find their way to a chiropractic office because of things like lower back pain.
Sure.
So she started under a care plan in our office, and it was either 1 or 2 weeks into care, and she stopped me and said, "I have to ask you a question." So I said, "Okay, what's going on?" And she said, "I'm going to the bathroom a lot." I said, "Okay." She said, "No, I'm going a lot." I said, "Number 1 or number 2?" And she said, "Number 2.
Okay.
I said, "Maria, how often were you going to the bathroom?" And her response was something like a week or 2 weeks. And I looked at her and I'm like, she said, "I'm going every day." And I said, "Maria, you're supposed to be going to the bathroom every day." And she
Right.
said, "And look at this, like my stomach is gone." She's like, "I didn't know chiropractic was for weight loss." And I was like, "Neither did I." But she said, so it was an interesting opportunity for me, because I took a step back from that and learned, in all of my consults now, I ask patients, "How often do you poop?"
Yes.
From that experience, because Maria came in thinking she had a musculoskeletal issue.
Right.
Something was causing her lower back pain, completely keeping it unrelated from the fact that her body was toxic. There was waste in there that needed to come out, right? When you poop, that's waste.
Right.
And it was causing her lower back pain. And she was a nurse, so she had access to lots of great medicines and
Yes.
information, and she was taking Metamucil and all this other stuff and eating celery and all this fiber, and nothing was helping. The issue was that there was a subluxation, basically a disconnect between how the brain sends the signals out to the colon, to the large intestine, and that's the organ responsible for excretion, for pooping, for going to the bathroom.
That is fascinating. So what I'm hearing from you is it not necessarily was, there was something going on with the spine that was pressing on the area. It was more of a nerve-related issue.
Correct. It was a functionality issue.
Okay.
And so a lot of times people try to treat or work with, let's say, let me treat the pain.
Right.
So the pain is going to be typically the last thing to show up, and oftentimes it's an outcry from your body to let you know that, or to signal you that there's something else going on.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, she's not thinking, "Okay, I'm constipated." A lot of people are.
Right.
Completely thinking it's totally separate that she has lower back pain. But what happened was her body started with a whisper. It was trying to tell her, "Hey, you're not going to the bathroom. So now you're bloated, you put on some weight, you can't move as easily." And then
Right.
after a while, when she wasn't making the changes that her body was requesting,
Yes.
her body started screaming at her and caused her to not be able to walk properly and have really bad pain.
That's fascinating, because you hear a lot of times with stress that there is that mind-gut relationship. So we're talking about a spine-gut relationship for the most part. Am I right?
Sort of, because most people think, so there's a lot of misconceptions out there about chiropractic.
Right.
Most people think that chiropractic deals with the spine, and we do. However, we utilize the spine. What we really do is access the neurology, the nervous system.
Right.
So you have your brain, and your brain sends the signals down the spinal cord and then out the nerves. The spinal cord is protected by the vertebrae in the spine.
Yes.
And the nerves exit between those vertebrae, and the brain is protected by the skull. So the spine and the skull, they actually protect and house your most important thing, which is your computer, your control center, your brain and spinal cord. That's what we work with. So we use the spine to access that, but really what we're working with is how the brain talks to the rest of your body, which is why the results that we get are so powerful, well beyond pain.
You know what, and that's what I love about you, is we talked about putting Band-Aids on things. You don't do that. You look for the root of the problem.
Yes, but let's be honest. When someone comes in and they're dying, like, we understand that there's a need for sometimes some immediate relief,
Sure.
but that's not the same thing as correcting an underlying problem or issue like you spoke about before.
Right.
And oftentimes what I've seen over the years is that people fall into this cycle of, okay, well, I got out of the crisis, the pain's gone, so I'm good now, I'm healthy now, everything's okay, but they never actually fix the underlying or correct the underlying issue, and then it comes back.
Yes.
And what'll happen is it'll start coming back more frequently, and it may start coming back with more intensity until oftentimes someone shows up and they're like, I'm desperate, help me.
What do I do? What do I do, right? So there was another one of your case studies that really jumped out at me. I believe her name was Christina.
Yes.
Can you tell us about Christina?
I would love to. Christina's one of my favorite stories to share. I put an ad in South Florida Parenting about chiropractic, and I had a mom call my office, and she said, well, I didn't know that kids could see a chiropractor. I saw your ad, so I'd like to bring my daughter in. And Christina first came to see me when she was 8 years old.
Okay.
So, and she was brought in because she was having migraines like your daughter was.
Yes, okay.
Now, you have an 8-year-old. Why would an 8-year-old be having migraines in the first place? So as we did a case history, which we do with all of our patients, we found out that Christina was born with something called torticollis. Okay. And torticollis is almost like if you're an adult and you've ever woken up and you have a really, really bad stiff neck, and you're extremely uncomfortable.
Yes.
Similar to what a torticollis is, where there's a restriction or a fixation, most specifically at that top area there, and it affects, again, functionality. So Christina was born with that, and a lot of times it happens first in the birth process if there's pulling, things like that.
Sure.
And so Christina's parents were aware about that, and they brought her to physical therapy, and I'm glad that they did because it helped her. She needed some relief, but there was still a piece missing. So she was still having these migraines, and her parents brought her in to see me. And I don't always take x-rays of the kids that I work with, but if you bring me a migraine case, I need to understand what's going on inside.
Sure.
So we took some films of Christina, and you're normally supposed to have a C-shaped curve in the neck that looks like this, but in Christina's neck, her curve looked like this. It was opposite of where you're supposed to be.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, as a reversal, because there was just 8 years of continuous stress being placed on her body. So we started working with Christina. She went under a corrective care plan. We saw her, I think it was a few times a week for several months. But it was after her third visit, because remember, we weren't just worrying about the pain going away. We wanted to correct her underlying issue. So that took longer. The pain itself started to go away within a handful of visits, at which point her dad came in, and he was like, what are you doing with my daughter? Because she's a different kid. She has her energy back. She's happy. She's behaving like an 8-year-old should.
That is so amazing.
So she started with us at 8 years old.
Right.
Christina stayed a patient for a very long time. The last time I saw her, she was 11, and the reason why she's not currently a patient is because her family moved out of state, but we still keep in touch.
Right.
And Christina comes in now about every 2 weeks for a wellness checkup, not waiting for the problem to come back, actually to prevent it from ever happening again.
That's amazing.
And she wants to be a chiropractor, so that's what I'm really proud of.
Yes, you made an impact in her life.
And her parents brought her in because they didn't want their 8-year-old to be taking heavy-duty medications.
Can I ask, what had she been through? Had she taken medications before she had come to you?
You know, I have to look through all the notes on the case, and I believe that in this case she did, but there's a lot of, and I don't want to misspeak on the case, but just cases in general that I've worked with where people come in with headaches. A lot of people are prescribed things like Topamax, they've had Botox injections, and again, there's a time and a place for medication. You know, I understand that.
Yes, I agree.
When we talk about heavy-duty things, I'm not just talking about an over-the-counter thing. Like, a lot of people will turn to things like Tylenol or Advil or Motrin, and I don't treat those lightly, because the spleen, the liver, the kidneys, you still have to process that and break it down.
Right.
So if we're having to put any chemicals in the body, you know, there needs to be a good reason for it. So I understand when people are desperate. I get it.
Yes, I do too.
But there's also the lifestyle piece that we can look at and see if we can make changes where people may not need to take those things.
Right. I agree. And you're so knowledgeable in the nervous system, and what intrigues me looking through your website and all of the things that are on there is your work with children. And you talked about Christina, but you also treat little babies. There's a case study. Is it baby KJ?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, how cute. Tell us about baby KJ.
Well, first off, babies are super cute and fun and loving, so I like to work with them, which means we get to work with their parents too. But baby KJ is one of our more recent cases that came in, and though he's not the first we've seen of this kind, where a parent comes in and they are desperate and miserable because that was a child with pretty intense and severe colic and reflux, not diagnosed by me. They were previously diagnosed by their pediatrician and taking medication. And the moms when the dads bring their kids in and they're like, I don't want my few-month-old baby to be on medication.
Right.
But I get it. Your kid's crying, they're miserable, they're inconsolable, nobody's sleeping, it's affecting everyone in the household, and you want to help them.
Right.
So again, why we're here having this conversation is because people don't know that there's tools or things that they could do outside of just taking medication.
Right.
So there are other options to try and see how your baby, your body, and your family respond to that.
Yes.
So KJ came in to see us, and his mom was desperate and miserable, and she was like, please help. And he's screaming, he's unhappy, and I told the mom, he's probably going to be unhappy throughout today's entire visit.
Right.
But we got to give him the opportunity to put some input into his nervous system and let his body respond to that.
Right.
And what happens a lot of times, this is the case for KJ too, is even after sometimes one visit, there's night and day changes. So I just had another new patient that came in, baby Alexander, who's a brand new infant. He was born less than a month ago, and mom noticed that there's something going on. He's not sleeping. Like he'll sleep for a little bit and then he's constantly up. And again, newborns, they eat, they sleep, they poop. That's what they do.
Right.
One adjustment, and he had a 3-hour nap that day. He's never done that before.
Is that right?
Because it helps calm everything down.
Right.
If everything's excitatory, and there's something that's fixated or subluxated in through there, you can't be comfortable. So a baby, how are they going to show you that? They're going to be screaming. They're going to be unhappy. They're going to be miserable, which means mom and dad are miserable, which may mean that bigger brother and sister are miserable. And so when baby KJ started coming to see us and his colic's getting better and he's a happier, smiley baby, mom and dad could be happier, everybody's sleeping, and it changes the entire family dynamic. And that's why I love what I do.
That is so wonderful. So wonderful. So where is baby KJ right now? Is he older? Is he?
No, he's still a baby.
He's still a baby.
He's still a baby. He comes in for his periodic checkups, just like most of our patients do. So see, when people initially come in to see us, most people, we have to undo a lot of the stresses that they first came in with to see us from. So a lot of the effects of what those stresses will cause. So oftentimes when a patient first starts, we'll see them more frequently. And then as their body starts to respond and hold and adapt, then we see them less frequently. But it's in combination with their stress levels. So the better, the better the patient is at living a healthier lifestyle, the fewer stresses, within reason. It is about to be 2019. Our stress levels are very high.
Yes, true. Yes.
But that being said, that which we can control, it's really important that we do and minimize the effects of stress on the body. And ultimately, that's what allows your body to better adapt. And that's what chiropractic does. It helps your body better adapt, which means you better function and you better heal.
That's great. That's great. So of all the conditions that you treat, what is the most rewarding for you? That's a loaded question, I know, but
it's really hard to answer that because I don't only work with kids. I work with older people too. And I have a patient that he's an Ironman. He's in his 70s. He's one of my favorite people to work with. He hiked Mount Kilimanjaro and he comes in for his wellness checkups. He's been a patient for years, and I love that too. That's rewarding. Like it's very rewarding to have a life change, like for Christina, for KJ, for Maria. But it's also rewarding to get to take care of the people that get it, the people that understand that this is a lifestyle and a long-term thing, because that's really where we get to see the biggest differences and the biggest changes is over the long term.
Yes. It's not an instant fix a lot of times. We have to take care of ourselves. We do.
Right. So we may instantly feel better, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we instantly heal better. Healing is truly correcting the underlying issue, and that is a process that takes two things: repetition and repetition over time.
Yeah, that's good. It's a lifestyle changes.
You got it.
Yeah, and that's important.
You got it.
So we're going to take this opportunity to take a break with our sponsor, and we will be right back. Microgerm Defense is a green antimicrobial product. It is approved by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and comparable regulatory bodies around the world. It wipes out 99.99% of harmful germs and viruses with its non-stop active protection. The process for application is easy, fast, and safe. For more information, email info@microgermdefense.com or call 1-855-282-3338. Wow, this has been a lot of wonderful information. We thank you so much for being here with us. So I have to know, and I'm sure there's viewers out there that are wondering this as well, you know, with regards to, say somebody's out there and they're like, yeah, I have some back pain, I may be a little constipated, there's a lot of changes going on. What tips can you give them as far as taking some steps to change their lifestyle?
Great question. Great question. I'm all about people changing their lifestyle for the better. My number one tip is to be proactive. Don't wait for the crisis to happen. Stop waiting for your back to give out. Stop waiting for headaches. Stop waiting for a reason to make a change.
Yes.
You don't need January 1. You don't need Monday. The change can happen now. And so my number one tip would be to have an evaluation and a checkup to see if you're even a candidate for chiropractic care in the first place.
Right.
And if you are, what that may look like for you, because it's not the same for everybody.
That's true. That's true. Thank you so much. So for people out there that are watching this, they don't know you yet, but want to get to know you, where can they find you?
Really easy to find us. You can go online to favoritechiropractor.com, and you can also follow us on our social media pages at Dr. Gena. It's DOCTORGENA. We're online, and we're ready and looking to help everyone.
That's awesome. So on behalf of the entire PlumbTalk team, I want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Right? An amazing show. I read that Dr. Gena has a zest for life as vibrant as her personality, and you know what? It's true. It's so true. She is awesome. Today we have learned so much about the chiropractic world, tips we hope that will enhance your life. You know, our conversation today has reminded me of a quote. I'm going to pop it up here for you. It's a quote by Rene Descartes. I'd like to leave you with it. The quote states this: "It is not enough to have a good mind. The main thing is to use it well." That is what we're doing today, right? By thoroughly investigating all our health options, we are taking our good minds, and we all have them, and we are using them well. I just love it. Until next time, this is Dr. Shelley Plumb. This has been another segment of From the Hip, wishing you all a healthy and happy week ahead.